If you are having a baby and you are worried at this moment in time, I want you to stick around for this video. I want to provide you some of the balance, some of the reassurance that a lot of the time maternity services do get it right. And if you yourself had a positive experience during your pregnancy, your labour, your birth, your postnatal period, drop it in the comments below, because I think it's really important to be able to come in with your eyes open, absolutely, understand where those issues might be, but also have the reassurance that in the majority of cases, things are okay, things are good for a lot of people. And what that does is it lowers that anxiety in pregnancy. I'll also give you some tips at the end of the things that you can do if you think that you're not being listened to or heard to. And before anyone says this is not toxic positivity, if you want to hear my criticisms, you want to hear the negative side of things, go and check out some of my other previous videos. You can see from my previous videos the criticisms that I have with the underfunding that has taken place for over 14-15 years now. But I want to give the balance, and one of the things that struck me in my last job role is I'd get compliments through, and we would get more compliments than we would get complaints, which is really positive and reassuring. You can see coming through the compliments the worries and anxieties that families often had before they entered maternity services, and often they would caveat it at the start by saying, we've heard lots of bad press about maternity services, we were expecting a really negative and bad experience, we came in quite defensive, expecting to have to battle. But actually every single one of your staff members has listened, has facilitated, has advocated for us, has gone above and beyond. We can see how stretched they are, we can see how hardworking they are. Thank you so much. And those compliments really make the world of difference to staff members who are working maternity services as a starting point. But they really highlight that so many families are anxious and worried coming in, expect to have a battle, expect to have to advocate for themselves. And they go, do you know what? That was actually really good service. We had a really good experience. We had such a positive outcome. And if you were to ask your community midwives or your maternity and neonatal voices partnership just how many compliments versus complaints there are, you might be quietly surprised that there are probably more compliments than there are complaints. Stillbirth rates have come down over the last 10 years. It was 3.9 per 1,000 births in 2023, and it's now 3.8 per 1,000 births in 2024. That's 2 in 10,000 pregnancies less ending in stillbirth, which should still be celebrated, and it is significantly lower than the USA. One research study that was published in September 2025 highlights that most women have a really positive experience of NHS maternity services. And here are some fantastic anonymised quotes from service users in maternity services you can have a read, just press pause. But we also have the CQC Maternity Experiences report that comes out every single year, and there are some improvements that have been seen this last year, which is amazing. So this is the CQC Maternity Survey 2025. So what happens is every February they go out to anybody who has had a baby in that month, and they ask them what their experiences are in a very long, in-depth survey. This is available in all units, and the great thing about this is if you go into the CQC website, you can actually break it down by your own trust locally to you. So you can see the differences in care provided at your local hospitals. And when that data from all of those maternity trusts has been put together, they found an overall improvement in many areas compared to the previous year, including communication during antenatal care and involvement in decision making, particularly around postnatal care. And I apologise for the poor images, but I have only been able to download this on a computer and not my phone to be able to open up the reports. But you can see that upward increase, being given time to be able to ask questions, to be able to have things discussed properly. More women are reporting being given more time to answer any questions and have decisions discussed. There's a 5% upward positive trend of being listened to during their pregnancy. 84% of women now report being listened to in 2025 compared to 79% back in 2021. 81%, so this would be the equivalent of 4 in 5 women, saying that they were always able to have the time to ask questions and have things explained properly. 98% of all women and families entering maternity services are treated with respect and dignity, with a 3% increase since 2022 of always being treated with respect and dignity at every single contact during pregnancy. There's been a 12% increase in people being given information about induction of labour compared to 2022. It's now 76% of all people are given appropriate and as much information about induction as possible compared to previously. Being listened to about pain relief during labour and birth has increased by 2%. 65% of all women having their babies said that their labour and pain was managed really well. 23% said yes to some extent, and 13% said no. And these are improvements from 2023, highlighting that there is an improvement in pain management increasing in maternity services. There's improvements in how women are perceiving their teams, their midwives and their obstetricians are working well together. Now 77% always working well together in a team. In the postnatal period, there's a huge increase when we compare it to 2013 in the kindness and compassion in the postnatal period. And you can see that this is coming up. It did get a peak. There was a peak in 2019 and then it dropped around the COVID years. But you can see that it is coming up again now. Interestingly, the people who responded more positively were more likely to have continuity of care, have seen the same midwife at some point. And those who responded more negatively either did not have English as their first primary language or did not see their midwife very often in the antenatal period, or those who had had an emergency or unplanned caesarean birth. Really highlighting the importance of continuity of care. Partners being able to stay after birth has massively increased. It's now back to 2019 levels. Being able to contact a midwife has increased by 4% as well. Relating to postnatal care, decision making has increased to 75% of all women saying that they absolutely always were involved in their decision making. There's been very little difference though in continuity after the birth of their baby in the same midwives providing that care. And there have been improvements relating to infant feeding postnatally too. There have been huge improvements in mental health as well postnatally for women's experiences. And for those who needed support with mental health, there's been a massive increase over the last 4 years, with 9 in 10 women now saying that they feel really well supported and they had the right and enough support postnatally with their mental health. So what does this all mean in reality? Well, in most cases, maternity services do get it right for families. And this video is to highlight and just to put it into perspective and context the numbers of women and people who feel like they have received good care. Experience with maternity triage services have been included in this report for the first time, and it highlights that there are huge improvements needed for maternity triage services across the country. The pain relief aspect does still need improvements, and we should be striving for 100% of all women having good experiences in every single aspect all of the time. There are improvements to be made when English is not someone's first language. And whilst the CQC report is only one measure, it is coming directly from women, people, families within maternity services, and it is them who ultimately need to shape the local service needs. And things that I encourage all women, people, families to do at every stage is to take lists of questions with you at each maternity appointment that you go to. Have someone who can advocate and speak up for you, particularly during labour and birth, where you may be so uncomfortable, for example, where you want someone else to advocate on your behalf. Ask questions, use benefits, risks, alternatives, instinct, and what if you do nothing at every single appointment. And learn the advocacy in pregnancy. Develop as much of a relationship, and remember you can change your midwife either in the antenatal period or during labour and birth, so you can change someone if you're not gelling with them, if you're not getting along with them, or you don't think that you're being heard or listened to. And I want to make it really clear that maternity services can change to get better for every single person, but it's not going to change overnight. 14 years of underfunding, and that is not going to change suddenly tomorrow. It's going to take a lot of different interventions from a lot of different directions to make it better for everybody. But in the majority of cases, maternity services does work for many families and women and people, and that's to give you the reassurance.